Hey, how's it going? So tonight I wanted to come out to my workshop and get some cleaning done. It just turned into a disaster over the winter. Um, Problem is, I get distracted easily. As you can see in the background here, it's just friggin' cobwebs covered in sawdust. It's ugly. Um, but I like to, make sawdust, so that's what I ended up doing. The shop is completely covered in scraps from me piddling around making stuff over the winter. Um, and I hate to throw stuff out, but eventually you either got to do something with it or you got to get rid of it. One thing I like to do to get rid of really tiny scraps but still keep them useful is make little wooden strips. Now, you would think that's completely useless, but to me, I use them as plant markers out in my flower beds. When you buy plants from the store, they come with those little plastic flags that say what the plant is, might even have a little picture or some like planting instructions, whatever. Well, that's great, but those never go away. They sit in your flower bed and you find them years later under your mulch, and I just kind of think that's a little bit annoying. These, on the other hand, it's a thin little strip of wood. It's going to break down. Now, I don't recommend using pressure-treated wood if you've got any of that sitting around. Obviously, there's chemicals in that. You don't want leaching in your flower bed. But any other lumber, I don't see why it would be a problem. Again, it's thinner than most pieces of mulch are going to be, so eventually this is going to break down. But for a season, I mean, you can write on it with a Sharpie and mark your plants. Works great. The way that I make these is I just set up my bandsaw. I clamp a piece of scrap about 1/8 of an inch from the blade, and I just zip my scraps through real quick. I can make, a dozen of these in probably a minute or so. So it's a real easy process. Now, the other thing that I use these for is if you're a woodworker, here's my favorite plane that I own. It's one that I refinished. When you're setting the depth of your blade, now, I don't know if you can see that very closely here, but I'm turning the knob. My blade is going into the plane. Now I'm turning it out. It's coming out of the plane. What you can do with these little strips, these are very handy to have around for this, is check whether your blade is, number one, if it's out far enough, number two, if